The biggest mistakes a man can make in the presence of a woman are not obvious. They have nothing to do with saying the wrong thing or wearing the wrong clothes. They have nothing to do with money, looks, or even charm. The real mistakes, the ones that quietly kill respect, attraction, and influence, are the ones that most men don't even notice. They are elusive, almost invisible. A change in posture, a crack in your composure, a word spoken at the wrong time. And if a woman sees them, she will never be able to tear herself away from them. A man may believe that he is doing everything right, but then wonder why she seems indifferent, why her respect disappears, why she does not look at him the way she used to. He does not realize that everything ended the moment he showed weakness, not physical weakness, but something much worse, weakness of the spirit. Because deep down, every woman is looking for something in a man. Not just attraction, not just chemistry, but confidence. A presence that is unshakable, a strength that cannot be moved by emotions, doubts, or fears. And as soon as you fail this test, even once, it will sow a seed of doubt in her mind. So today, we're exposing the 10 deadly mistakes men make in front of a woman, the mistakes that destroy attraction, undermine confidence, and turn a strong man into nothing more than an option. And unfortunately, the last mistake on this list is made by every second man. So watch this video to the end to make sure you never do it in front of a woman. Let's get started. Mistake number 1, showing weakness of spirit. It happens in a split second. A look in her eyes shifts. Something feels different. You don't know it yet, but you've already lost. Not because of what you said. Not because of what you did. But because of what she felt. She sensed hesitation in your voice. She saw the way your posture collapsed under pressure. She heard the frustration, the self-doubt, the need for reassurance, and that was enough. Most men don't understand this. They think as long as they provide, as long as they're kind, as long as they show love, everything will be fine. But that's not how it works. A woman doesn't consciously choose to lose respect for a man. It happens on a level even she doesn't fully understand. Instinct. Biology. A reaction buried deep in her subconscious. A man who complains when life gets hard. Who crumbles when things don't go his way. Who seeks comfort instead of control. These are signals, silent warnings, that he cannot handle pressure. That he is fragile. And the truth is harsh, she cannot feel safe with a man who is weak. It doesn't matter how much she cares about you. The moment she feels she must be stronger than you, something inside her shifts. You are no longer her protector, you are her burden. She may not say it. She may not even realize it. But that feeling never fades. And once it's there, it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. So ask yourself, when pressure builds, do you stand firm or do you break? If you're serious about becoming the kind of man who commands respect and never loses it, then do 3 things right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. What is the greatest test of a man's strength? And before we move on to the next mistake, please like this video and subscribe to the channel to become a better version of yourself every day. And write in the comments, what do you think is the biggest test of male strength? Now let's move on to the second common mistake, saying more than you need to. Silence is power. Mystery is control. Yet most men make the fatal mistake of talking too much. At first, it seems harmless. You want to impress her, keep the conversation flowing, show her how interesting, how intelligent, how confident you are. But then it happens. A word too many. A joke that didn't land. A story that dragged on just a little too long. And suddenly, the air shifts. She's no longer as engaged. Her eyes flicker away. You don't realize it, but something inside her is pulling back. Because a man who speaks without control, who fills every silence, who overshares, who brags, who talks just to talk, is a man who doesn't understand his own worth. He's seeking approval, trying to be entertaining, trying to be liked. And that is where he fails. A man who truly commands respect doesn't waste words. He speaks with purpose. His presence alone creates intrigue, his silence carries weight. When he finally does speak, people listen because they know it matters. The moment you talk just to fill the void, you lose. A woman doesn't need to hear how great you are, she needs to feel it. She doesn't need endless words, she needs certainty, presence, restraint. Next time you're in her presence, try this: say less. Let the silence build. Make her lean in to hear your words instead of tuning them out. Master this, and you'll never have to prove yourself again. Mistake number 3, showing aggression and losing self-control. There's a thin line between strength and destruction. Most men cross it without ever realizing. It starts small, a rude comment, a minor frustration, a challenge to your pride. You feel it building, a heat rising from your chest, spreading to your face. Your pulse quickens. Your jaw tightens. And then, you snap. It could be a harsh word, a sudden outburst, a look that cuts too deep. But the damage is already done. She might not say anything. She might not even flinch. But beneath the surface, she is reevaluating everything she thought she knew about you. Because if you can't control yourself, how can you protect her? Most men think showing anger is a sign of strength. They believe that dominance comes from raising their voice, from asserting control, from proving they won't be disrespected. But true strength is silent. True power is calm. A man who cannot control his emotions is a man controlled by the world around him. He reacts, instead of choosing his actions. He is pulled by strings he cannot see, a puppet to his own impulses. Women are instinctively drawn to stability. They need to feel safe, to know that no matter what happens, you will not break. The moment you lose control, you become a threat, not a refuge. And once she sees that side of you, it's hard to make her unsee it. Every outburst, every moment of anger, every sign of lost control is a crack in your foundation. And cracks only grow deeper with time. The world will test you. She will test you. But a man who remains calm under pressure is a man who is truly untouchable. Remember this: the strongest man in the room is never the loudest. Mistake number 4, showing excessive arrogance. Confidence commands respect. Arrogance destroys it. At first, it feels like power. You stand tall, you speak with certainty, you carry yourself like a man who knows his worth. But then, you push too far. A dismissive tone. A smirk that lingers too long. A subtle remark that places you just above her, as if she should feel lucky to be in your presence. She notices. And in that moment, the attraction you build begins to erode. Not because she wants a weak man, but because she sees the truth. A man who needs to put others down to feel strong is a man who isn't strong at all. Arrogance isn't power, it's insecurity, dressed up as confidence. It's the fear of being questioned. The fear of being seen as less than. The fear of not being enough. And fear is weakness. You may think she admires your dominance, but what she's really doing is watching. Watching how you treat others, watching how you carry yourself, watching if your confidence is real or if it crumbles the moment your ego is tested. Real power doesn't need to prove itself. The man who knows his worth doesn't have to convince anyone. He speaks with certainty but without condescension. He leads, but never forces. He stands his ground, but doesn't look down on those around him. A man who is truly strong never needs to remind anyone. They simply know. Mistake number 5, being dishonest or exaggerating your merits. Lies are like cracks in a foundation. At first, they seem invisible, harmless. But over time, they spread. A man tells himself it's nothing. A small exaggeration here, a slight twist of the truth there. Maybe he inflates his success, makes himself seem more accomplished, more experienced. Maybe he hides a flaw, conceals a mistake, reshapes a story to fit the image he wants her to see. And at first, she believes him. But women have instincts men can't explain. They notice details, remember inconsistencies, pick up on shifts in energy. A small contradiction in your story. A hesitation in your words. a confidence that doesn't quite match reality. The moment she senses deception, everything changes. She may not call you out immediately. She may even play along, watching, waiting, testing to see if you'll slip again. And eventually, you will. Because a lie, no matter how small, always leads to another. The man who deceives, who exaggerates, who hides behind words instead of standing firm in his truth, loses all respect. A strong man doesn't need to inflate his achievements. He doesn't fear being seen as he truly is. He owns his strengths and his flaws without shame. Because when a woman looks at a man, she's not just evaluating his success, his status, or his words. She's measuring his character. And if she finds weakness there, if she senses dishonesty, she'll start looking for another sign of failure. Maybe it's not just his words that are false. Maybe his confidence is too. Maybe everything he presents to the world, his image, his status, his possessions, is just another illusion. Mistake number 6, demonstrating greed or material dependence. At first, it seems harmless. A casual mention of money. A subtle flex, a car, a watch, an expensive dinner. You think it makes an impression. And it does. Just not the one you want. Because the moment you place too much value on what you own, she starts questioning what you lack. A man obsessed with money, constantly talking about it, showing it off, or, even worse, complaining about not having enough, reveals something deeper than financial ambition. He reveals dependency. Dependency on external validation. He believes his worth is in his wealth. That without money, without possessions, without a constant display of success, he is nothing. And that belief seeps into everything. It makes him frantic, desperate, easily controlled. A man ruled by money is not truly in control of himself. Women sense this. They see how his mood shifts when he loses, how his confidence is tied to his bank account, how his sense of identity depends on numbers, objects, and comparisons. And that is weakness. Because wealth can be taken. Status can be stripped away. But a man's value, his true power, comes from what remains when everything else is gone. A woman doesn't respect a man who needs money to feel like a man. She respects a man who remains unshaken without it. Because if you're defined by what you own, then you're only one failure away from losing yourself entirely. And when that moment comes, when things don't go your way, when life takes instead of gives, will you still stand tall? Or will you crumble, revealing something even worse than material dependence? Mistake number 7, putting others down to elevate yourself. There's a certain type of man who believes that power is taken, not built. That in order to rise, he must push others down. It doesn't happen in obvious ways at first, just a subtle remark, a joke at someone else's expense, a condescending tone when speaking to someone he sees as beneath him. To him, it's harmless, even natural. He sees it as confidence, as proof of his superiority, as a way to show the world that he is not weak, that he is above the rest. But what he doesn't see, what he fails to understand, is that every word spoken at another's expense, every insult disguised as humor, every dismissive glance or belittling comment, is not a sign of strength. It is evidence of deep insecurity, a quiet admission that he is unsure of himself, that he must diminish others to feel tall. A woman watches. She listens. She notices how he treats people who can do nothing for him, how his tone changes when speaking to a waiter, a stranger, an employee. In those moments, she sees something he cannot hide. If he needs to step on others to feel superior, if his confidence only exists when he is in control, then his strength is an illusion. Because real power does not demand submission. A truly strong man does not seek validation by making others feel small. He has no need to. The moment she recognizes that his self-worth is dependent on comparison, on the ability to feel better than others, she knows she is not dealing with a leader, but a man desperate to be seen as one. And once that truth is exposed, respect is lost. Because a man who requires the downfall of others to feel like a man is no man at all. He is just another boy, afraid of being overlooked. But there is something even worse than needing to diminish others. A trait that destroys confidence, credibility, and respect faster than any insult or boastful display of dominance. Something that, once seen, cannot be unseen. Neglect. Mistake number 8, showing ill-mannered or untidy behavior. A man's presence speaks before he ever opens his mouth. The way he carries himself, the way he presents his appearance, the way he moves through a room, all of it tells a silent story. Some men believe that their words, their status, or their confidence alone are enough to command respect, that how they dress, how they groom themselves, or how they conduct themselves in small, seemingly insignificant moments don't matter. But they are wrong. A man who lacks discipline in his appearance, who carries himself carelessly, who treats his environment and the people around him with indifference, is not seen as powerful, he is seen as weak. Because a man who does not respect himself cannot expect respect from others. It is not about wearing expensive clothes, owning designer brands, or obsessing over fashion. It is about the small details, the effort, the discipline in how a man presents himself. A wrinkled shirt, a slouched posture, unkempt hair, dirty nails, these are all signals, subconscious cues that he lacks control over himself. A woman sees these things, even if she doesn't mention them. She notices the way his shoes are scuffed, the way his breath carries the scent of neglect, the way he shrugs off basic manners as if they don't matter. And each time she notices, something shifts. It is not disgust, not immediately. It is something more dangerous, doubt. A creeping uncertainty about whether this man, this person she once admired, truly has the discipline and self-respect she thought he did. Because discipline is not just about how a man works or how he makes decisions in moments of crisis. Discipline is a way of life. It is found in the way he keeps his space, in the way he maintains his body, in the way he moves, in the way he treats even the smallest interactions. If he lets himself go, if he allows laziness to creep into his posture, his hygiene, his behavior, it is only a matter of time before that same carelessness infects everything else, his ambition, his focus, his relationships. And once a woman sees that, she knows. If he cannot control himself, he will eventually lose control of his life. But there is something even worse than a lack of discipline. Something that, when exposed, sends a signal of weakness stronger than any appearance ever could. A truth that is far more damaging than wrinkled clothes or careless grooming. Because while a man's lack of discipline is a slow erosion of respect, his fear of being alone is a collapse. Mistake number 9, being afraid of loneliness. A man who fears loneliness is a man who has already lost control. He may not say it aloud. He may not even realize it himself. But his actions betray him, the way he constantly seeks company, the way he fills every moment with noise, the way he clings to relationships not because he truly values them, but because he is terrified of facing himself. A man like this does not move through life with purpose. He moves out of fear. Fear of silence. Fear of solitude. Fear of being left with nothing but his own thoughts. A woman sees it long before he does. At first, she may mistake his constant presence for devotion, his eagerness for care, his inability to be alone for passion. But over time, something starts to feel off. She notices the way he waits for her calls, how his plans revolve around hers, how he seems restless, anxious, uneasy whenever he's on his own. She senses neediness, not strength. And the moment she realizes he is with her not out of choice, but out of fear, something inside her shifts. Because no woman wants to feel like a man is using her as a shield against his own emptiness. No woman wants to be the reason a man gets out of bed in the morning. She wants to be drawn to a man who is already full, who is already driven, who does not seek her presence to complete himself, but rather to share the life he has built. Because here is the truth, a man who cannot stand on his own will never be truly respected. He will never be fully desired. He will never command the quiet authority of someone who moves through life because he chooses to, not because he fears the alternative. A man who depends on a woman for his sense of identity, who dreads the thought of an empty house, who jumps from relationship to relationship just to avoid solitude, is not a man in control. He is a man running. Running from the stillness. Running from the quiet. Running from the uncomfortable truth that he does not know who he is without someone else there to define him. But what happens when a man is not only afraid of being alone, but also afraid of something even more destructive? What if his greatest weakness is not just dependence on others, but a deep inconsistency in his own beliefs? What if, instead of standing firm in his values, he bends, shifts, and contradicts himself at the first sign of pressure? Because the final mistake is not just a weakness, it is a complete loss of credibility. And once a man loses that, he loses everything. And finally, we come to the last mistake that every second man makes. Mistake number 10, being inconsistent in your principles. A man's words mean nothing if his actions betray them. It starts with something small, an opinion changed too quickly, a belief abandoned under pressure, a promise made and forgotten. At first, no one notices. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. He is not a man of conviction. He is a man who bends, shifts, and changes himself to fit the moment. And once a woman sees this in him, she loses something that can never be recovered: trust. She watches how he speaks with certainty one day, only to hesitate the next. She listens as he makes bold claims about who he is, only to act in ways that contradict those very words. And soon, a realization dawns: he does not stand for anything. He is not firm in his values. He is not rooted in himself. He is malleable, easily swayed by opinion, by fear, by pressure. A man who lacks consistency in his principles is not unpredictable in a way that excites. He is unpredictable in a way that makes him unreliable. Strength is not found in aggression, nor in the ability to dominate a room with words. True strength is found in unshakable belief. It is found in a man who does not need to convince anyone of who he is because his actions already show it. It is found in the man who does not apologize for his principles, does not rewrite his values when challenged, and does not abandon his integrity just because standing firm would be difficult. A man like this moves through life with certainty. A man like this commands respect without ever needing to ask for it. But the man who says one thing and does another, he will never be respected. Not by the people around him. Not by a woman. And certainly not by himself. Because deep down, he knows the truth: he is weak. He fears consequences more than he values his own word. He would rather be accepted than be real. And that kind of man is easily broken. He may still try to act strong, to project an image of confidence, to convince himself that his shifting nature is an advantage. But no matter how carefully he builds his mask, he will always be missing one thing: self-respect. And that is the final, fatal mistake. Because a man who does not respect himself, who does not live by his own code, who is afraid to stand alone in his beliefs, will never be taken seriously. Not by others. Not by women. Not by the world. And worst of all, not even by himself. A man's downfall is never loud. It does not come from a single mistake, a single failure, or a single moment of weakness. It happens slowly, silently, in the smallest choices. Each time he doubts himself. Each time he seeks approval. Each time he speaks without purpose, reacts without control, or betrays his own values. It's not the world that takes his strength, it's him. Women sense this before a man does. They notice the cracks forming, the hesitation, the neediness, the lack of self-discipline. And the moment they see it, respect dies. Not because they are cruel, but because they cannot admire a man who has not mastered himself. A man's strength is not in what he owns, what he says, or what he pretends to be. It is in his ability to remain unshaken, to stand firm, to be complete, whether loved or alone. The moment you become that man, the world will take notice. If you found value in this, like this video, subscribe, and comment below: what defines a truly strong man?